There comes a time in life when you realize that your kindness has been mistaken for weakness, when your giving nature has been taken for granted, when your friendliness, that beautiful, open part of you that wanted to make others comfortable, has turned into a gateway for people to use, disrespect, and overlook you. And in that moment, my dear, you begin to understand one of the hardest lessons of all. Being friendly does not mean being available to everyone, at all times, for every reason. You can be kind and still have boundaries. You can smile and still say no. You can love deeply and still protect your peace. The world has confused friendliness with foolishness, but they are not the same thing. Some people hide behind a smile while losing themselves trying to please others. They think that by being agreeable, by being the one who always says yes, by being endlessly accommodating, they will be loved, respected, or valued more. But it never works that way. The truth is, when you are too friendly, you become predictable. You become the person everyone assumes will always understand, always forgive, always show up, always fix what others break. And the more you keep giving like that, the more invisible you become. People stop seeing your effort. They stop hearing your no when you whisper it because they're so used to your whys. And slowly, piece by piece, your friendliness erases your power. There's beauty in a gentle spirit, but there's also wisdom in restraint. Every person does not deserve your warmth. Every stranger does not deserve your energy. Every friend does not deserve your loyalty in full measure. You have to learn to discern who has earned access to you and who has only borrowed it. You must learn to know the difference between being genuine and being too available. Because the world has a way of draining those who don't protect themselves. You are not required to smile through discomfort. You are not obligated to make others feel comfortable at the cost of your peace. And you are certainly not responsible for fixing everyone's mood, carrying everyone's problems, or being the sunshine for people who live in storms of their own making. There is a quiet strength in stepping back, in choosing silence over reaction, in walking away rather than entertaining disrespect. Sometimes, being too friendly is not a virtue, it's a disguise. It hides fear, the fear of being disliked, misunderstood, or abandoned. So you overextend, hoping your friendliness will buy you belonging. But my dear, people who truly belong in your life don't need to be bought with kindness. They stay because they see your worth, not because you bend yourself to please them. There is nothing wrong with being kind. Kindness is noble, beautiful, and necessary. But when kindness becomes servitude, when it crosses the line into self-neglect, it's no longer kindness. It's self-erasure. And too many people have lost themselves in the name of being friendly. They say yes to gatherings they don't want to attend, conversations they don't want to have, favors they don't have energy for, all because they don't want to seem rude or distant. But what's truly rude is neglecting your own heart just to keep others comfortable. The greatest respect you can show to others is honesty. And sometimes honesty means stepping back. Sometimes it means saying, I can't help you with that. Sometimes it means, I need space. Sometimes it's as simple as not replying immediately, not showing up uninvited, or not pretending to care when your spirit is tired. There's strength in boundaries, not bitterness. Boundaries do not make you unkind. They make you wise. People will call you cold when you stop being convenient. They will call you arrogant when you stop explaining yourself. They will say you've changed when you stop giving what they were never entitled to. But that's not arrogance. That's growth. The price of peace is often misunderstanding. And if you want to live freely, you must be willing to be misunderstood. We've been taught that friendliness is a moral duty, that a woman especially should always be polite, warm, and accommodating. But what they forget to teach is discernment. You are not born to be everyone's comfort. You are born to be true to yourself. And when being friendly starts costing you your authenticity, it's time to change the script. Because people will take advantage of your softness if you let them. They'll come to you with their brokenness, expecting you to heal them, while they offer nothing in return. They'll call you when they need something and disappear when you do. And if you never stop smiling, if you never stop saying yes, they'll never realize they're draining you. Some people don't see you as a person, they see you as a source. The moment you start saying no, you'll see who's been there for you, and who's been there for your usefulness. There is power in a quiet no. There is dignity in silence. There is wisdom in walking away. You don't owe explanations for your boundaries. You don't owe apologies for your peace. Let people call you distant. Let them call you unfriendly. Let them think whatever they must. The truth is, your peace is worth more than their perception. You cannot pour from an empty cup. You cannot be light for others while standing in darkness yourself. You cannot carry everyone else and still expect to fly. The world will not stop to refill you. You must learn to refill yourself. That is the real act of love. Not the smiling through pain, not the overextending, but the choosing of yourself first. Stop being too friendly with people who have shown you their intentions. When someone consistently drains your energy, disrespects your time, or crosses your boundaries, believe them. Don't excuse their behavior with empathy. Empathy is a gift, but it must not be misused. You can understand someone's pain without allowing them to project it onto you. You can love someone and still love yourself enough to walk away. Being friendly to everyone makes you accessible, but being wise about who you let close makes you powerful. Protect that power. Don't give it away to everyone who smiles at you. Some smiles hide envy. Some compliments hide manipulation. Some friendships are rooted in convenience. Pay attention. Not everyone clapping for you wants to see you win. Not everyone calling you friend speaks from loyalty. Not everyone you help will help you back. But don't let that harden you. Let it refine you. Let it teach you to value depth over attention, peace over popularity, quality over quantity. You don't need a crowd. You need clarity. You don't need everyone to like you. You need to like yourself when you look in the mirror. Because when you start respecting your own energy, you attract people who respect it too. Being too friendly often comes from a place of wanting connection. You crave love, understanding, and belonging. That's human. But real connection is built on authenticity, not performance. You don't have to perform friendliness to earn love. You just have to be you. The right people will feel your warmth naturally, not because you force it, but because it's genuine. So stop over-explaining. Stop apologizing for having limits. Stop softening your boundaries to make others comfortable. Stop laughing at jokes that aren't funny just to fit in. Stop staying in rooms where your soul feels small. Start protecting your energy like it's sacred, because it is. Life will test you with people who want to see how much they can take before you say enough. And when you finally say it, they'll act shocked. But you don't owe them comfort anymore. You owe yourself freedom. Freedom from pretending. Freedom from performing. Freedom from the endless cycle of overgiving and under-receiving. When you stop being too friendly, you make room for authenticity. You attract relationships that respect your truth. You discover who values you for your soul, not your service. You find peace in solitude. And you start realizing that not everyone deserves access to your heart. Be polite, but not a pushover. Be kind, but not compliant. Be loving, but not naive. The world respects those who respect themselves. It might not praise you for it, but it will know better than to play with your boundaries. And understand this. Distance doesn't mean bitterness. Silence doesn't mean weakness. Saying no doesn't mean you're unkind. It means you're growing. It means you're learning to listen to your spirit. It means you've finally realized that peace is not found in pleasing everyone. It's found in pleasing your own soul. So many people live their whole lives trying to keep the peace outside while waging war inside. They smile while breaking. They give while empty. They love while being disrespected. They call it being nice. But it's really self-abandonment. There's a difference between peacekeeping and peacemaking. Peacekeeping means you avoid conflict by silencing yourself. Peacemaking means you create harmony by standing in your truth. Don't silence yourself for comfort. Don't shrink for approval. Don't let your friendliness become your downfall. The world doesn't need another person who sacrifices their spirit to be liked. It needs people who are bold enough to be kind and firm at the same time, who know how to love deeply without losing themselves, who can say, "I care, but I also have limits." There will always be people who misinterpret your boundaries. They'll call you distant because you stopped entertaining nonsense. They'll call you rude because you stopped explaining your worth. But don't let their confusion become your concern. You've spent enough time teaching people how to treat you. Now it's time to show them with your actions. You deserve to be around people who match your energy, not drain it. You deserve friends who don't need to be convinced to value you. You deserve a peace that doesn't depend on pretending. And that kind of life begins the moment you stop being too friendly with those who don't deserve your openness. So, walk with grace, but guard your soul. Speak with kindness, but stand with strength. Love freely, but choose wisely. Don't let the world make you bitter, but don't let it make you blind either. You are not here to be everyone's comfort zone. You are here to live truthfully, to love deeply, and to rise unapologetically. The smile on your face should never be a mask for pain. The warmth in your heart should never be an excuse for others to burn you. Protect your peace, not because you're selfish, but because peace is the foundation for everything beautiful in life. Without it, love turns into exhaustion, kindness turns into resentment, and friendliness turns into emptiness. You were not made to be everyone's favorite. You were made to be whole. You were made to stand tall in your truth, even if it means standing alone for a while, because the ones meant for you will never require you to shrink, pretend, or overextend. They will love you not for how friendly you are, but for how real you are. So the next time you feel guilty for saying no, remind yourself that you're not rejecting them. You're protecting yourself. The next time someone calls you too serious or too distant, smile gently and walk away. You've outgrown the need to be liked by everyone. You've learned the value of peace, because at the end of the day, being too friendly might win you people, but being real will win you peace. And peace, my dear, is priceless. It's the kind of wealth no one can take from you once you own it. So stop being too friendly. Start being free. There is a difference between being kind and being constantly available, and learning to separate the two is one of the most powerful forms of self-respect you can ever practice. Kindness is a beautiful trait. It reflects empathy, generosity, and compassion. But availability, when given without balance, drains you of those very qualities. When you give everyone unlimited access to your time, your emotions, and your presence, you begin to lose sight of your own needs. You start saying yes even when your body is tired, your heart is heavy, and your mind is screaming for space. You become the person who is always there for others, but has no one truly there for them. The world will keep taking as long as you keep offering. People often mistake kindness for weakness, not because they're cruel, but because you've made it easy for them to. They get used to your giving, your forgiveness, your softness, and before long they stop valuing it. They start assuming your energy is endless. But your peace is not a public resource. It's a private garden that requires tending. Boundaries are not walls meant to keep people out. They are doors that you open intentionally to let in those who deserve to share your light. When you protect your peace, you are not being cold. You are being wise enough to recognize that your spirit needs balance to thrive. You cannot offer compassion from a place of depletion. You cannot give genuine love when you're constantly giving out of obligation. Protecting your peace means understanding that your kindness loses meaning when it comes at the cost of your sanity. You can still smile, you can still care, but you must do so with awareness. You must learn when to say, "Not today," when to rest, when to pull back, and when to protect your silence. Because people will not always know when they've crossed the line. They will not always notice the exhaustion behind your smile. That's not their job. It's yours to recognize when your boundaries are being tested. And it's your duty to honor them. When you stop confusing kindness with availability, you stop performing and start living authentically. You begin to see that kindness without boundaries is self-sacrifice. It's not your role to always hold space for others while leaving none for yourself. The truest form of kindness is when you can extend love without losing your peace, when you can give without resentment, when you can help without draining your soul. Boundaries don't make your kindness smaller. They make it sustainable. Because when you protect your peace, you preserve your ability to love with sincerity, to give with fullness, and to live without resentment. Boundaries are not rejection. They are respect. They tell the world, my energy is sacred, and I choose where it flows. When you stop being endlessly available, you begin to attract people who value your presence instead of exploiting it. You no longer feel the need to overextend yourself for approval or acceptance, because you've found peace within your own balance. Being too friendly often invites a type of disrespect that doesn't come with harsh words or open hostility. It comes quietly, wrapped in the disguise of connection. When you are the person who always smiles, who always listens, who always gives others the benefit of the doubt, people begin to take your gentleness as an open invitation. They start to assume that because you are approachable, you are also easy to use. They begin to share their problems without ever asking how you're doing. They seek your time and your energy without realizing it costs you something. And slowly, you find yourself surrounded by people who like how you make them feel, but rarely think about what you feel. This kind of friendliness may seem harmless, but it can lead to emotional exhaustion because it allows others to blur the lines between closeness and convenience. When someone sees you as a safe place without offering safety in return, that's not a relationship. It's an imbalance. And it happens because being too friendly often attracts people who are drawn to your warmth, but have no intention of protecting it. There's a subtle difference between being open-hearted and being unguarded. The first allows love to flow naturally, while the second allows anyone to step in, even those with careless intentions. Not everyone who enters your space comes with respect. Some come with curiosity, others come with envy, and some come with selfish needs disguised as affection. When you're overly friendly, you make it too easy for people to access your inner world. They begin to feel entitled to your attention, your forgiveness, and your time. They stop earning your trust because they never had to. And when they realize how easily you forgive, how rarely you confront, they start testing the boundaries you never enforced. What begins as innocent friendliness becomes silent permission for others to treat you as they please. You might think being friendly means being good-hearted, but goodness doesn't require submission. It doesn't mean you have to entertain everyone, agree with everything, or respond to everyone who calls your name. Sometimes, the kindest thing you can do for yourself is to stop showing up for people who only show up when it suits them. Too often, we think friendliness will create mutual respect, but respect doesn't come from how much you give. It comes from how much you value yourself. When people see that you are selective with your energy, they begin to treat your presence with care. They know they can't take you for granted. They understand that your warmth is not automatic. It's intentional. When you're too friendly, you risk being surrounded by people who appreciate your presence, but not your person. They love how you make them feel important, but they don't consider how they make you feel in return. That's not love or friendship. It's extraction. It drains you quietly until one day you realize you've been running on empty while others thrive on your generosity. Disrespect doesn't always come with cruelty. Sometimes it comes with constant taking and never giving. And when your friendliness becomes the bridge that people walk across without ever looking back, it's time to recognize that being open to everyone isn't kindness. It's neglecting your own worth. Your no holds more power than 1,000 forced yeses, because it represents truth, strength, and self-respect. Yes. That comes from fear, guilt, or pressure carries no real value. It's a hollow agreement, given not out of willingness, but out of obligation. So many people say yes to things that exhaust them. Yes to favors they don't want to do. Yes to people who drain their energy. Yes to commitments that steal their peace. Because they fear being misunderstood, disliked, or seen as selfish. But every time you say yes when your heart is screaming no, you abandon a piece of yourself. You betray your own peace for the comfort of others. You shrink to fit expectations that were never yours to carry. Your no is not rejection, it's redirection. It is the moment you decide that your time, energy, and emotional balance matter as much as everyone else's. Saying no does not make you cruel, distant, or unkind. It makes you authentic. It shows that you value yourself enough to choose peace over people pleasing. It's not your responsibility to carry every burden placed in your hands. It's not your job to heal everyone who's hurting or say yes just because it's expected of you. True love, real friendship, and genuine respect all understand no. Those who truly care for you won't demand your compliance to prove your loyalty. They'll respect your no as much as your yes. The people who get angry when you say no are often the ones benefiting from your lack of boundaries. They are not upset because you hurt them. They're upset because your boundaries remind them they can't control you. A single no spoken with courage can save you from 1,000 moments of regret. It can protect your energy, preserve your dignity, and strengthen your sense of self. No is a form of honesty, and honesty is a form of love. Love for yourself first. You teach others how to treat you by how you treat yourself. And when you treat your peace like it's precious, others begin to do the same. You must remember that saying yes to everything does not make you generous. It makes you depleted. You can't give your best when you're running on empty. There's power in pausing before you agree. There's wisdom in asking yourself if what's being asked of you aligns with your truth. Every no you speak becomes a shield protecting the most sacred parts of you, the parts that have long been overextended, overlooked, and underestimated. You don't have to explain or justify your boundaries. You don't owe anyone a reason for prioritizing yourself. No is a complete sentence. It doesn't need decoration or apology. It's the sound of freedom, the sound of self-awareness, the sound of reclaiming the space you once gave away too easily. A quiet no can do more for your peace than a loud yes ever could, because it's rooted in authenticity rather than fear. The more you use it, the lighter your spirit becomes, and the more genuine your connections grow. Not everyone smiling at you deserves your energy or trust, because a smile can be one of the most deceptive gestures in the world. People wear smiles the same way they wear masks, using them to hide jealousy, manipulation, or self-interest. Some smiles are pure, born out of genuine warmth, but others are carefully crafted to disarm you. They make you lower your guard, open up too soon, and give access to your heart without earning it. You start believing that friendliness equals sincerity, and that charm equals character. But time reveals that not everyone who appears kind has kind intentions. Some people study your softness, learn your vulnerabilities, and use your openness as an entry point to benefit themselves. When you're too trusting of every smiling face, you risk confusing attention with affection, flattery with loyalty, and friendliness with integrity. It's important to understand that not every person who treats you kindly wishes you well. Some will praise you publicly and doubt you privately. Some will act like they admire you while secretly competing with you. Some will stay close, not because they love you, but because they want to monitor your progress, your joy, or your peace. These people smile in your face, but carry shadows in their hearts. It's not your job to expose them, but it is your duty to protect yourself. Discernment is your greatest strength in a world where people perform goodness to gain access. Trust must be earned through consistency, not charm. Watch how people behave when there's nothing to gain. Observe how they treat you when you have nothing to offer. That's where truth reveals itself. Your energy is sacred, and not everyone deserves to share it. When you give your trust freely to everyone who smiles at you, you dilute your own power. You begin to mistake politeness for authenticity, forgetting that some people have mastered the art of pretending. Real kindness doesn't need to be loud. It doesn't demand your attention. It proves itself over time. Pay attention to patterns, not promises. Believe actions, not appearances. Some people will smile because they want to keep you close enough to use, but never close enough to matter. They feed off your openness because your light makes them feel alive, but they never intend to pour anything back into you. There is strength in smiling back, but keeping your guard up. There's wisdom in being kind without being naive. You can be warm without being wide open. Trust is a gift, not a right, and not everyone deserves it. Guard it with care. You don't have to become cold or suspicious, but you do need to be aware. Awareness doesn't make you bitter. It makes you balanced. You can acknowledge a smile without surrendering your soul. You can wish people well without letting them too close. Protect your energy like it's rare, because it is. The more selective you become with who gets access to you, the more peace you'll find within yourself. Silence and distance can speak louder than friendliness ever could, because there are moments in life when words lose their power, when explanations fall on deaf ears, and when continued kindness only teaches others that their behavior has no consequence. Silence is not weakness. It is wisdom wrapped in restraint. It's the ability to understand that not every battle deserves your voice, not every person deserves your energy, and not every situation requires your reaction. Sometimes, the most powerful response is no response at all. When you stop explaining, when you stop over-justifying your boundaries, people begin to feel the absence of your presence. That absence becomes the loudest message you can ever send. Distance becomes your language, silence your strength, and detachment your peace. There are people who will never understand your words, but they will feel your silence. They will sense the change when you no longer entertain their chaos, when you no longer react to their disrespect, when you no longer rush to comfort them after they've hurt you. Silence becomes your way of saying, I see what you're doing, and I choose peace instead. Distance becomes the line between what you once tolerated and what you will never allow again. You stop explaining your worth and start demonstrating it through stillness. That's the power of silence. It doesn't beg, it doesn't plead, it doesn't justify. It simply exists calm and unbothered, while truth reveals itself naturally. People often mistake silence for submission, but silence is awareness. It's control. It's knowing that reacting to everything small only drains your spirit. You don't owe everyone a reaction. Sometimes, Silence is the only way to preserve your dignity in the face of disrespect. It's not about holding grudges. It's about refusing to engage with energy that dishonors you. When you walk away without arguing, you're not losing. You're choosing clarity over chaos. You're letting your absence do the work your words could never do. Distance, too, is not coldness. It's clarity. It allows you to see people for who they truly are when you stop feeding them your time and attention. When you pull back, those who were genuine will reach out with understanding, while those who were there only for convenience will fade away. Distance reveals truth in a way conversation never could. It shows you who values your presence and who values what they can take from it. There's power in learning to be silent when provoked, in choosing stillness when others expect reaction, in walking away when staying would mean betraying your peace. The quiet you create for yourself becomes a sanctuary. In silence, you hear your intuition. In distance, you find your balance. The world will keep demanding explanations, but your energy doesn't owe them. Silence protects what words would expose. Distance saves what presence would destroy. And when you master the art of both, your peace becomes unshakable because you've learned that sometimes saying nothing says everything. True peace begins the moment you stop performing for approval, because as long as you keep chasing validation, you will never truly know yourself. From childhood, you are taught that being loved means being agreeable, that being accepted means being easy to handle, and that being valued means doing what others expect of you. So you grow into someone who bends instead of breaks, who smiles instead of speaks, who apologizes for existing in spaces where you've earned the right to stand tall. You start to shape yourself around people's preferences, changing your tone, your words, your laughter, and even your dreams just to be accepted. But peace doesn't live in pretending. Peace doesn't bloom in performance. Peace begins when you realize that the people who truly love you don't need you to perform. They need you to be real. When you live for approval, you hand your power to others. Their opinions become the compass for your choices. Their comfort becomes your priority. You become addicted to the idea of being liked, even if it means being misunderstood by yourself. You apologize for being too quiet, too loud, too emotional, too distant, never realizing that the right people will never make you feel like too much or too little. They will meet you where you are, not where you contort yourself to fit. The exhaustion you feel doesn't come from doing too much. It comes from constantly trying to be enough for people who never deserved your authenticity. You keep performing because you fear rejection, but in doing so, you reject yourself first. The applause of others is never worth the silence of your own soul. When you stop performing, you reclaim your peace. You stop measuring your worth by how others respond to you. You stop explaining your choices to people who are committed to misunderstanding them. You stop editing your truth to fit someone else's comfort. You start listening to your inner voice, the one you silence for years in the name of being polite, nice, and agreeable. That voice will tell you when something doesn't feel right, when your boundaries are being crossed, when your energy is being drained. Peace begins when you trust that voice again. It begins when you no longer rush to prove your goodness through overgiving, when you no longer trade authenticity for acceptance. There is a quiet freedom that comes from realizing you don't have to please everyone. You start to see how much energy you wasted trying to manage other people's perceptions. You start to understand that being misunderstood is not the end of the world. It's the price of being honest. You start to see that not everyone is meant to understand your journey, and that's okay. The people who are meant for you will see your intentions, even when your actions are imperfect. They won't need constant explanations. They'll feel your heart. That's where peace lies, in knowing that you don't need to prove your goodness to anyone. Approval is a moving target. Today they love you for your kindness. Tomorrow they'll call it weakness. Today they praise your confidence. Tomorrow they'll call it arrogance. When you live for approval, you build your peace on shaky ground. You let others decide your worth, and in doing so, you give them the power to destroy your peace whenever they wish. But when you stop performing, when you stop caring so deeply about being liked, you start to anchor yourself in something unshakable: self-respect. Self-respect doesn't shout, it doesn't beg, it doesn't chase. It moves quietly, it walks away when needed. It stands tall even when no one is clapping. You will find that peace begins in the small moments, when you choose yourself over approval. When you say no without explaining. When you choose solitude over forced company. When you protect your silence instead of proving your point. When you allow yourself to be disliked rather than being fake. Every small act of authenticity brings you closer to peace. You stop trying to convince people to see your value, and instead, you start living like you already know it. That is the shift, from needing validation to embodying worth. Peace is not found in being perfect, it's found in being present. You no longer feel the need to perform because you understand that nothing genuine requires performance. You start appreciating the simplicity of just being. Being still, being honest, being enough. The noise around you quiets down because your inner world becomes calm. You stop chasing applause and start chasing alignment. You realize that the world's approval is temporary, but your peace can be permanent if you guard it. When you stop performing, you begin to notice who stays. Some people will leave because they only loved the version of you that served them. They loved your friendliness, your yeses, your willingness to carry their weight. But they didn't love your truth. And that's okay, because the loss of people who don't align with your peace is not loss. It's liberation. The ones who remain will meet you in your authenticity. They'll respect your boundaries, your quiet, your individuality. They won't need you to be cheerful all the time to believe in your light. The more you choose peace, the less you need validation. You stop feeling guilty for taking time for yourself. You stop explaining your choices to people who haven't earned that privilege. You stop apologizing for growing. Growth will often make others uncomfortable, but your peace depends on not letting their discomfort dictate your evolution. You will begin to outgrow certain conversations, certain environments, and certain expectations, and that's how you know you're healing. You're no longer reacting to everything that used to disturb your spirit. You're no longer desperate to be understood. You're just existing, softly, calmly, truthfully. Approval-based living keeps you in a constant state of anxiety because your worth is always being measured externally. You can't relax because you're always performing. You can't breathe because you're always adjusting. But the moment you stop, the moment you decide to just be, you feel something you haven't felt in years. Peace that doesn't depend on applause. That's the kind of peace no one can give or take away, because it's rooted in self-awareness. You finally understand that you don't have to be everyone's favorite to be valuable. You just have to be real. You realize that peace is not the absence of noise, but the absence of internal conflict. You stop debating who you should be and start embracing who you are. You stop apologizing for the space you take up. You stop chasing approval from people who can't even find peace within themselves. You learn that validation feels good, but it's not nourishment. It's a sugar rush. It fades. But peace, once found, stays. It doesn't depend on anyone noticing you. It comes from you noticing yourself. And when you finally stop performing, life becomes lighter. Conversations become honest. Friendships become genuine. Decisions become clearer. You wake up each day not asking, will they like me? But instead asking, am I at peace with myself? That shift changes everything. You move through the world with quiet confidence, with a heart unburdened by approval, with a mind clear enough to focus on what truly matters. You stop chasing and start attracting. You stop proving and start being. You stop performing and start living. And in that living, you discover the peace that has been waiting for you all along.